Welcome back. I'm still working on embellishing this Giclée, my limited original. Again, if you didn't see the first session, our limited originals are hand embellished Giclées on canvas. It's a high quality digital reproduction of one of my paintings, and then I go back in and enhance it with oil paint. And this one I'm changing. There's sunflowers here. My collector also wants to have sunflowers here. So that's very easy to do. I'm using a mixture of cadmium yellow medium plus just a tiny bit of mud, which is my 2 parts of ultramarine blue plus alizarin crimson. And then, so a little bit of that mud is mixed into the cadmium yellow medium, and that grays it just a little bit. That brings the shadow part. Now this is more of my cadmium yellow medium, just the plain cadmium yellow medium. And I go ahead and I block my flowers in. Just get the basic shapes of the petals. I even added on this one, I'm adding a little bit of my pink from my flowers up above. You saw that in the first frame of the video. I showed the entire painting before I've started embellishing here. Just to add a little bit of variation into that yellow. If you look at sunflowers, there's actually, they're not just solid yellow. There's lots of shades of yellow. There's some oranges, some reds, different colors in there. So we're going to have one of those sunflowers. We're going to break down over this basket and paint out some of those geraniums. Be careful not to get these bigger than my other sunflowers over on the other side. And I'm going to put one more just here, just kind of going off the edge of the picture there. Now, I didn't mix quick mix up some leaf color. I'm using ultramarine blue plus lemon yellow. This gives me a nice warm green. And that'll be my leaves. So I come back in and I start working around my blossoms, and I can just want to make sure the geraniums that were in there are covered. And these leaves are broad. They break out over that bicycle seat. I'm going to have one down here that the light will be catching. Cover over where that geranium blossom was. And this one will catch a little bit of light there. Don't have to do too much because I can leave my greens from the geraniums. But this just fills in, kind of paints out some of those geranium blossoms in there. I'm using a little mixture of phthalo blue plus white, just to give me some coolness in there. Just kind of put some colors in there. And I will use the same paint then to embellish the sunflowers on the other side. Now I want to add my centers of the sunflowers, and I'm using here a mixture of my mud, and which is ultramarine blue plus alizarin crimson, and I've added a little liquid into it just to make it a little bit thinner. Now, okay, let me pick the brush I want here. There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. And then I just put my dark centers in here. And I let it pick up a little bit of my yellow because that kind of adds some brown into my centers. They're not solid black. So I want to pick up some of that yellow into my center. And then right in the middle of these large centers is usually a darker area. So I come back in and just add that little darker section. But you can see I pick up that yellow in my brush. Let that, and I can add my little dark center here. And I come around, kind of darken it just down here where the blossoms are going to be, where the petals come out. Now this one is more sideways, so we don't see as much of the center. It's more at an angle. The centers, as they go around the shape of the plant, become more elliptical rather than round. As they turn, and we see more of the side of them. Now this one's straight on, so it's going to be rounder. Just bring a little bit of that yellow color into here. And see, I've even let a little of my red show through, and that just adds some color surprises into those flowers, into the sunflowers. Now I want to come back in and come back. I've got some of these petals just a little large, so I can come back in and shape them with the green. I paint the blossoms first because see how that, when I painted that green, how it picked up some of the yellow on my brush? Well, that's why I paint the blossom first, because if I were to paint the greens first and then I tried to paint the blossoms over that, my brush would pick up the green and it would make my blossom color muddy. Now I can come back and lay some highlights over the green, but to paint the entire flower, I'm better off to just go ahead and block my flower color in first, and then I come back and add my leaves around that. Now we'll put a few little stems in here. They're just showing. Not going to see too many stems in this one because the flowers are in there pretty close. And we'll get a little tip of a leaf coming out here. Just catch a little more light. Okay, now I want to add some highlights on my sunflowers. And this is a mixture of lemon yellow plus a tiny bit of the cadmium yellow medium. And our light's coming in from the upper right. You can see I'm just sort of laying this paint on. And even then, see how my brush picked up some of that green on there? Not sure where the best place is, you can see it, but it picked up some of the green on there, so I have to keep wiping my brush to keep the color clean. And I lay these brush strokes on thick because I want these sunflowers to have some nice texture. Use a little bit bigger brush. That one's not quite. Here we go. Not getting quite the shapes I want. There we are. That's what I'm looking for. See, there's get my highlights in here. And we'll get some. These at the top are going to be in the shadow of the awning, so we're just going to get some highlights down here. And I can just kind of lay that color on. And this is a square brush. It's called a bright brush. And I like it because I can turn it sideways and get those nice brush strokes. My petals. Now this will catch just a little bit of light right in here. But those I've not made quite as bright. Now I'm using pure just cadmium yellow medium. I don't want these to be quite as bright because they're back more in shadow. Now we'll go back to my smaller brush. Again, I wipe my brush a lot. I just use toilet tissue. It's the cheapest that I can get. Jack would always tell us that. He says it's not fit for human use, but it's good for doing the brushes. cleaning the brushes. And we'll get a little bit darker strokes back in there. I want to reshape this center. Put it down just a little bit there. I need to put my dark in the center of these. And there, we've changed that from geraniums to sunflowers. That's the fun of these limited originals. And they're called limited originals because they are part of a limited edition. This edition is very small. It's 25 of this particular image. But then they're original in the fact that I come in and paint on each one. So each one is different within the edition. So that's how Jack came up with the term limited originals. Your little lesson for today, as he would say. So you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. I forgot what I was going to say. And also, I have a blog where I show the complete step-by-step process of this painting as well as others I do. The link is in the description below. It's also on the final frame of my video. And thank you again for visiting.